This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and well, you don't see things like this every day, do you? It's a Android tablet right here, 13.3-inch display. It's got the Yoga hinge because this is a Lenovo product. In fact, this is the Lenovo Yoga Tablet 2 Pro. And it has some business features, that's why it's called Pro. It's got the yoga style stand right here, and most interestingly and most oddly, it has a Pico projector on the side. We're going to look at it now. So for those of you who like living large and your phone is already a phablet, well, what would be the point of an 8-inch tablet? Come on, even a 10-inch tablet. So here we have 13.3 inches of IPS multi-touch goodness. QHD resolution 2560 by 1440. Really, it is a lovely display. It's pretty bright too. It's just short of 400 nits of brightness, which for a tablet is pretty darn good. And it's fairly slim and light, and really it's gorgeously designed. Lenovo has done a great job with their Yoga Android tablets, making them sleek, futuristic looking. It stands on its own. Notice, no hands. Right there. Nope. 2 JBL front-facing 1.5-watt speakers each. That's about what you would find on a 13-inch laptop, so that's pretty good. There's also a JBL subwoofer in here, though trust me, it's not going to rattle your phone right off the table or something like that, but it's good for a tablet. And as we look around sideways like so, you can see there's that yoga-style stand right here. This is metal. Sounds like so. Sort of makes a katana sword like swing if you drag it on a hard desk sometimes. Anyway, adjustable. You can go all the way flat and close it up. You can do it like that and use it like so. Accelerometer takes care of everything. Good for on-screen typing, obviously. There is no active digitizer or pen here. I know it almost begs for it. Something like this. You just want to start writing and drawing. Sorry. A capacitive stylus is the best you can do, which won't have palm rejection, so you can't rest your hand on the screen. You won't get pressure sensitivity, but just about the only feature missing from this tablet right here. Sturdy design. There's our little JBL subwoofer right on the bottom there. This is a push button, so when you close this up, locks into place, and you push the button, releases it. 8-megapixel camera. This is actually pretty decent. Now at 13.3 inches, we're getting a little large here, I think, for everyday photography purposes, but hey. Under this door, microSD card slot. There is no 4G LTE version available on this, but there's a blank there, so maybe Lenovo is thinking about the future, but for now, this is a Wi-Fi only tablet. You can use your phone's hotspot, you know, the usual story of MiFi if you need connectivity anywhere. The hole over here, obviously on the bottom, is so you don't block the camera, and you could even hang it up like so. Hang it on the wall, make an expensive display of it. Not that expensive though, $469. You get a lot of tablet for the price, and the inside specs aren't that bad either. It runs on the Intel Atom CPU, which is a 64-bit CPU. That's commonly used in today's Intel Atom Windows 8.1 tablets. Made its way over to Android. Now, last year I was not so bullish on Atom because honestly Android wasn't well optimized for it. It's not a bad CPU at all, but the performance just felt stuttery and jittery, and now it's absolutely fine and usable, so that's a good thing. The CPU is the Intel Atom Z3745. That's a quad-core CPU, 1.8 gigahertz. 2 gigs of RAM, which is pretty standard for Android, 32 gigs of internal storage. That's reasonably healthy. Plus you got that micro SD card slot there for storage as well. Inside there's a 9600 milliamp battery, obviously sealed inside. You can see this is a very sealed inside sort of design, isn't it? No way to obviously open it up. That's a pretty ample battery. Of course, this is a very large and high resolution display, so well, you need that. And Lenovo claims up to 15 hours of use, and I would say that's kind of optimistic, as most manufacturers are. About 10 hours is what I found, with brightness at 50%, which is quite usable indoors. Looking around on the side, right here we have our projector button. You press and hold this, it enables the Pico projector, and we'll show you how that looks. You know, Pico projectors are what they are. They're not super bright output, about 50 lumens of brightness output on this thing, and it's not terribly high resolution, 854 by 480, so you're not going QHD broadcasting here. Why is it here? Supposedly Ashton Kutcher thought it would be cool. I'll leave you with that. Lenovo does, once again with the Pro name though, think of this as a business product. So it comes with Kingsoft Office Suite. You can obviously load the Office Suite of your choice. There's even Microsoft's own Office now available on the Google Play Store. So you could excite people with your PowerPoint presentations and the like using that projector if you so desired, though I think a lot of people would still go to the Windows counterpart. In fact, there is a Windows counterpart to this. I would like to review that, and maybe we will, which is the Yoga 2 13-inch for Windows, and that one costs $600, so it's a bit more money, but that's another subject. On this side right here, we have our volume controls, micro USB port. It does support USB host, so you can put a flash drive on here if you want for file transfer. Power button is integrated into the barrel right there, and that's your 3.5mm combo audio jack. So pretty simple, pretty sleek, very nice looking. It doesn't look cheap. In fact, it looks pretty darn classy. It's quite thin, and it weighs 2.09 pounds. And the back surface has a little bit of texture on it. Other than that, basic, silver, sleek, nice. Hinge, very stiff, very sturdy. Now, Lenovo makes several different sizes of the Yoga Android tablets, all with this design. So for those of you who like this but want something smaller, have no fear. It's there for you. Minus the projector, but I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be too sad about that. Up front, we have a 1.6 megapixel camera for your video chat, your selfie joy, whatever it is you're going to be doing with that. It works pretty well for a Skype video chat. It's reasonably bright and reasonably clear as tablet front cameras go. Lenovo customizes Android 4.4 KitKat quite a lot. I'm not sure if I'm really thrilled with that, but that's because I'm so used to Android. I know how it works. And when you change it around a lot, you got to say, well, why was that done? I think it's still supposed to be a little bit more tidy and newbie friendly. This is the main start screen, which looks pretty much like any other Android device. We've got some shortcut icons here, software based on screen, home, multitasking, and back buttons right there. If you want to customize things like your wallpaper, desktop settings, and all that, you're going to use that little menu item right over there. Pressing and holding only brings up the selection for all the various widgets that are available. Weirdness number one if you're used to just standard Android. If you swipe down here, you get your notifications, which is just cool and nice, and you can clear them up. And if you tap there, you can control your notifications. So it doesn't take you directly to settings. If you want to get to settings, again, you tap here and you can get to settings. And on this side, we have more swipies with more notification information. And if you swipe once that way, every time you install an application, it's going to, when it's finishing, it's going to stop and say, which folder do you want to put it in? Which is kind of like annoying because it throws you out of the Google Play Store when you might still be looking at stuff. But anyway, so they have all of these pre-configured here, utilities, games, social. It doesn't have any particular intelligence about that. So I installed a game on here, Madden, in fact, and it didn't automatically assume, oh, you want to put that in games. It just asked me where I want to put it. And if you swipe this way, here are all of your other icons, your, shall we say, your homeless icons that are not in those other folders. So that's what they've done with the UI. There is no tap to see all icons, drawers, stuff like that. So you get used to it, and it actually works pretty well, but it's pretty darn strange until you do get used to it. Speed on this has actually been pretty good. Like I said, it used to be with Atom, it just didn't really have the Android optimizations. We're beyond that now, and it's pretty darn smooth, though. In terms of synthetic benchmarks, it's not up there with even the Snapdragon 801. I mean, today's CPUs are somewhat overkill given what a lot of people use their tablets and phones for, so it doesn't mean it's unusable by any means, and it is pretty responsive. But just to hit you up with those numbers, Quadrant, 15,928. Geekbench, 787 for the single-core test and 2456 for the multi-core test. 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited, 16,670. SunSpider JavaScript test, where lower numbers are better, it did pretty well, 696. Antutu, 33,672, where usually we see in the low 40,000, say for the Snapdragon 801 quad-core CPU. And with Quadrant, instead of seeing 15,900 and something or other, we see something like 20,000. So you get the idea that you're getting about 3/4 of the performance here. And 3/4 is, given the price, probably enough. If you want to get more expensive and more fancy, there is still the Samsung Galaxy Note Pro 12.2. A lot more money. You do get the pen, you don't get the projector, you do get a smaller screen. So for those of you who really want the really big screen, there's enough horsepower here. This is pretty much standard Google keyboard right here. We're in the Chrome web browser. And by default, it has haptic feedback turned on, which on something this large is just genuinely distracting. So you can turn that off if you want. But it's kind of interesting actually to see haptic feedback on something this big. And here we are visiting Mobile Tech Review, the desktop version of our website. See, it loads fine. It loads quickly enough. And let's listen to a video review so we can see how those speakers sound. We'll listen to the Yoga 3 Pro video review. And right now we have it at about 50% volume. Scrolls fine, performs fine right there.
This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and here's one of the ones you've been waiting for. This is the Lenovo Yoga 3 Pro. The latest evolution, in some ways, it's way ahead of its time. It's incredibly thin. It's incredibly light. I mean, wow, this is skinny. It has a very unusual watch band hinge. It's got the new Intel Core M CPU inside.
So there it is. It sounds pretty good for a tablet, isn't it? It's up there with a decent Ultrabook. It's not going to shatter anybody's eardrums, but it's nice and it's not screechy and it has a reasonable amount of bass right there. And of course, there's the headphone jack. If you want something better, it does have some neat features like Dolby audio going on and a Wolfson audio codec. So they're paying some attention to sound here, which is nice. Beyond the UI customization, you have control over your Dolby audio right here. You've got your manual. You've got Lenovo's little sketchpad for those of you who are adventurous with fingers or capacitive styli. You've got Route 66 for mapping. I think this is a little bit large to be using for navigation, but you can be the judge of that. Share it, clone it. They have their own file manager on board, which is pretty capable and will launch automatically if you plug in a USB flash drive using a USB on-the-go cable. And for those of you who don't know, this is a USB on-the-go cable right here with a flash drive plugged into it. So it goes from micro USB to female USB right here, and it's on-the-go or USB host cable that you need to make use of that feature. Plays music just fine through there, access files, all the usual things. So it's another way to expand storage besides the micro SD card slot. Now how about the projector? There's the interesting feature. And we actually have an icon, but that is just really a tutorial. It tells you things like you should lay it flat like so for stability and yada yada. And you have some control over settings like keystoning so you don't end up with a kind of parallelogram look if you're not holding this quite flat and all that sort of thing. If you want to project something, you simply press and hold the projector button until the projector app launches, and then the projector will project from here. We'll show you what that looks like in just a minute, but suffice to say, since it's not a very powerful bright projector, you need to be in a pretty dark room, not a bright room like this one. And it's not super high resolution, but it's pretty sharp. And there actually is a focus adjustment. It's nice to have a focus adjustment, but it's a very stiff slider right there. So it makes it hard to do fine adjustments. However, I find that usually going all the way to one end or the other, depending on the distance from the wall, is where you want to be. It works pretty well if you're about 6 to 10 feet from the wall. I find that's kind of like the sweet spot to get things working most easily. So here we are testing out the projector on a pretty dim hallway. It's not completely dark, and we're going through the tutorial, which tells you what to do here. You get the idea? And there's our home screen, and let's look at a video. This is definitely a product you probably might enjoy for video, mostly looking at the screen itself, I think. But it's not too bad, is it? So there it is, the Pico Projector. No mirrorcast, no HDMI, nothing required. Just aim it at the wall and go. And for those of you who are wondering what Kingsoft Office looks like that's bundled, it's actually not too bad. You can see you've got formatting, bullets, all sorts of styles right here. We're in the Word compatible word processing app. There's also the PowerPoint compatible and the Excel one as well. We've got page settings, word count. It's actually not so bad. So as a so-called pro tool, it's reasonably useful. And obviously, if you wanted to, you could use this with an external Bluetooth keyboard for better productivity than trying to deal with the on-screen keyboard, which is actually fairly darn huge on this and takes up more than half of the screen, which is, well, kind of crazy. You can also use third-party keyboards if you want to, though, to get around that problem. Lenovo also gives you a way to, well, make better use of the real estate right here. So we've got actually the Chrome web browser floating like so right over here. And you can resize it as you see fit, and you tap the little multitasking thing and say we want to see gallery. Just drag it over there, and there it is running in the background in half screen mode right now, or in full screen mode actually. And now we drag the calculator up so we have split screen going on. I'm going to close this one so that you can see. So that's their version of multitasking. Not all applications are supported. It's not quite as well designed, I don't think, as Samsung's version of multi-window multitasking, but it's not too bad either. And for gaming, we're looking at Madden Mobile here, and well, that's a great use for the big screen, and it does happen to be tablet optimized now. I confess I don't know a whole lot about football, but let's see what we can do here. So it plays pretty well, but the time between loading things is pretty darn slow. You get the idea. We're going through the beginnings of the game here, really, with the test gaining of yardage and setting up the team and so on. You get the idea. So it's playable. It's not bad at all. It's not as speedy as something with this, again, the Snapdragon 801 or one of NVIDIA's Kepler CPUs, that sort of thing, but it's certainly enough to play a game like this. You could play Asphalt 8, but you know, it's 13.3 inches and 2 pounds, and how much accelerometer-based racing you want to do, I don't know. So that's the Lenovo Yoga Tablet 2 Pro, and look, you can hang it up just like so even. Well, you know, that you don't see that every day either. Anyway, if you're in the market for a really huge screen Android tablet, and I wonder how many of you really are now that Windows tablets have gotten so affordable, honestly. Yeah, there's the thing. But still, it's quite affordable relative to Windows tablets. Pretty high quality hardware, the versatile stand here, projector too. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.